All right. So let's look at number 5 and number 6. Okay. So number 5 says the net below represents a rectangular prism. The prism has how many faces? Well, if you look over here, you will see that this part is considered a face. This part here is considered a face. This part here is also considered a face. This is considered a face. This part here and this part here. So how many faces do we have? We have a total of 6 faces. Okay, it's easy because even if you look at this, you have a front, you have a back, you have a side, another side, a bottom, and you have a top. Well, how many points did you see? One, two, three, four, five, six. So there are 6 faces. Now the question says, what is the surface area of the prism in question 5? All right, well, let's take a look at it. We don't have dimensions for everything, but if you can look at it, you can see that there's a front, there's a back, there's a side, there's a top, and there's a bottom. Well, or you can look at it and say, okay, we have a large box. We have 2 large boxes, 2 medium boxes, and 2 small boxes, right? Let's look at the dimension of the large box. We have a 3 by 8. Well, since we have a 3 by 8, we're just going to multiply it because it's base times height, right? So we're going to do 3 times 8. We're going to do that 2 times. And why do you think we're doing it 2 times? Because we have a 3 times 8 here, and we also have 3 times 8 here. Okay. Now the next one, I'm going to change the color because I noticed when I was doing it in class, I heard a student say, "Oh, I don't get it," but then they didn't ask. They didn't ask questions. So I'm going to make sure I clarify on this. This is a height for the medium. It's also what 8. Okay, but what is the base for it? Well, it's pointing there to say 2, so it's going to be 2 times 8. And since that's 2 times 8, the other medium is also what 2 times 8. So now we're going to come down here and do 2 times 8 2 times. Okay. And then the last one, you're going to change the color for that as well. So we can make sure that you see the difference. And by this time, you probably already see the difference, but it's okay. So we have here the base is 3, and then over here it has a height of 2. So that means it's 3 times 2. If this is 3 times 2, this is also 3 times 2. So now we are going to find the area of these shapes and we're going to add them all together. Okay. So now when we look at this, we know that 3 times 8 is 24. So that's 24 and 24. 2 times 8 is 16. So that's 16 and 16. 3 times 2 is 6. So that's 6 and 6. I'm just going to add it up by doubling. 24 and 24 makes 48. 16 and 16 makes 32. And 6 and 6 makes 12. Now, if I add all of these together, I'm going to get 92. Okay. So what is my answer? The surface area is 92 centimeters square. Now be careful when you do that because when you get to volume, it's going to switch to be square. And matter of fact, let me go back to one of my other problems because they asked for the volume, but I did not give the unit and I just remembered. So that'll be 9 and 3/8 inches cubed. Okay. Just want to make sure I clarify. That's 9 and 3/8 inches cubed. But over here, this is going to be squared because now we're talking about the surface area. All right, number 7. It said the next below when folded make what 3D shape? So all you need to know is remember that if all the sides around are triangles, it's going to be a pyramid because they form to make a point. When you see that they have 2 bases, like 2 rectangles or two of the same shapes that does not make a point, then you probably have some type of prism. Okay, so let's look at A. We see that there are 2 rectangles in a square, and then we see the triangles on the side. So we're going to just call this a triangular prism. Okay, so we're going to call this a triangular prism. All right. The next one, B. Always think about this. If the base is a square, and now we're going to assume that's a square. It could be a rectangle, but we'll assume it's a square. And the sides are triangles. We know that the triangles indicate a pyramid, and the base of it tells you what's the name of it. So we're going to say this is a square pyramid. Oops, sorry. So we'll call this a square pyramid. All right, the next one, what do you think this is going to be? That's right. We're going to just call it a triangular, sorry, pyramid. Okay. And the last but not least, everybody knows this one because we see this all the time in class. What is this? A rectangular prism. You right. I know you got it. A rectangular prism. Now, my students, y'all know my handwriting not that good, but hopefully you can understand it. All right, let's move right along because we got some more to cover. Number 8. If each cube has edges that's zero point 0.5, I'm sorry, 0 and 20, 0.25 inches long, excuse me, y'all, I gotta get together, it's been a long day. What is the volume of the prism outlined in blue? Okay, this is simple, and I love this one. So first of all, when we think about 0.25 or 0 and 25 hundredths, I always think about a quarter. Okay. So it telling you basically that each cube is 0.25 inches long, the edges of it. So that means for every three cubes, you got to add 0.25. Well, if you had three quarters, how much money do you have? That's right, 75 cents. So this is going to be 0.75. Okay. Now, if you look over here for the back and the front, that's one, that's two, that's three, four, and five. So if you have five quarters, how much money do you have? That's right, $1.25. Let me tell you something. When I was in school, if you had $1.25, you was doing something because you went to the canteen and you got every candy you want to get. Those candy was a quarter. All right, and the last one we have one, two, three, four. So obviously, if you have four quarters, you have how much? $1. So that's gonna be one. Now we need to figure out the volume of the prism. Well, to do that, V equals length times width times height. So V equals 0.75 times 1.25 times 1. So what is the volume going to be? Well, I'll give you a minute because guess what? I'm going to pull out my calculator too. How about that? So 0.75 times 1.25 times 1 is going to give you what? 0.9375. And you know what, students, it's okay to leave it like that unless they ask you to round it off. Okay, if they didn't, it's fine. So we can call it 0.9375 inches. And what are we going to make this, square or cube? That's right, cube, because we were finding the volume. Very good. All right, let's move right along to our next one. Ooh, this next one is going to be really fun. Okay. First of all, let's just look at this. It says a 300-page book is 10 inches long, right? 8 inches wide and 3/4 inches tall. What is the volume of 200 pages of the book? All right. Well, the book is 300 pages altogether. So all of this equals 300. Now, it's asking about 200. So that means I'm going to just divide them in thirds. So if I divide this in third, divide, well, that's not even, but you get the point. So this is 100, this is 100, and this is 100. I divided in third. So this is 1/3, this is 2/3, and this is 3/3 to make the whole book. We got that part. We only concerned about 2/3 of the book. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the volume of the entire book, and then we're just going to take 2/3 of it, and we'll be done. Now, how are we going to do that, Mr. G? Well, we have 10 times 8 times 3/4. First of all, you can't multiply fractions like that. You need to turn those whole numbers to a fraction by adding a 1 underneath it. For my people that like to convert to decimals, you can do that as well, but just know how to convert back and forth, okay? Now, so what is 10 times 8? 10 times 8 is 80. And because I know that 8 times 3 is 24, I can add that 0 from the 10 to get what? 240. 240. And then 1 times 1 is 1, and 1 times 4 is 4. So now I have 240 that I need to simplify by dividing by 4. And we all know that 24 divided by 4 is going to be 6. So I'm left with 60. So the entire book is worth 60. Well, if it takes 3/3 to make a whole, then I'm going to just divide 60 by 3, right? So I'm going to take 60, divide that by 3, and I'm going to get 20. So that means for every 1/3 is worth 20. So if I need 2/3, how much do I need to add? Add another 20. And then I'll have 40. Because remember, each 1/3 is worth 20. So now that's 2/3. So therefore, it's going to be 40 inches cubed. Okay? 2/3 of the book is 40 inches cubed. And the 3/3, which is a whole, is 60 inches cubed. And 1/3 is what? 20 inches cubed. Good job. All right, let's move down to the next slide or the next number, number 10. It says, using the net below, Jeff is going to cut these shapes out of a piece of paper. He will fold the paper on the dotted lines and connect all the edges. What solid will Jeff have when he is done? Well, don't let them fool you. Look at the first one. Easy. It's a square in the middle, and there's triangles all around. So therefore, we know it's going to be a pyramid, and we know that there's one base at the bottom, so it's a square. So we're going to call that a square pyramid. And if you look at them, they're all the same. All he did was move it around. So Jeff, you're not fooling us. This is a square pyramid. Yep, y'all know what to do. I know y'all know. So proud of y'all. Good job. If you made it this far, you're doing what you need to do. All right, let's move on to the next number. We're going down to number 11. All right, number 11 is another one of my favorite ones, but we're going to be quick about it because it says the net below has a length of 10 centimeters, a width of 6 centimeters, and a height of 2 centimeters. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you make what. What is the surface area? Okay, I'm going to just show you like I showed you in class. First of all, I can make this right here be what? This can be 10. I can also make my width of 6. So how wide it's going to be, I can say, well, this is 6 here. And then I can make my height be 2. So I can make these be 2. But it doesn't really matter because we know that we need to do lid time width. I'm sorry, that's not what we need to do. We know that we need to find the area of each different shape. So to make this simple, we can do it like this. 10 times 6. And how many times do we need to do that? Because remember, this is a 10 by 6 here. This is a 10 by 6 here. We got two of those. So make it 2 times. We can do 6 times 2. We're going to do that 2 times. That's going to give us what? That's right. That's going to give us 12. And then we can do, I'm sorry, I didn't show you 6 times 2. And then we can go back and do 10 times 2. Do that 2 times. Okay. Now let's add those bad boys up. When we add those bad boys up, guess what? You're done. Now 10 times 6 is 60. So I'm going to get 60 twice. 6 times 2 is 12. So I'm getting 12 twice. And 10 times 2 is 20. Boom. Now, I like to combine my double, or just double them, right? So everybody knows 60 plus 60 is 120. We know 12 plus 12 is 24. And we know 20 plus 20 is 40. Now we add those bad boys up. We're going to get 4 here. We know that 2 plus 4 is 6 and 12 plus 6 is 18. So our answer is going to be 184 centimeters squared. Okay. Now, what I didn't tell you was how did I get this 6 by 2? Well, I'm going to tell you now. If this is the same here, this is 6 by 10, right? If that's the case, then this is a 6, so this will be 2 times 6. Okay, so that's how I got 6 times 2. Okay, and then again, for my 10 times 2, if that right here is a 2, then that means this right here is also going to be what? A 2. And if this is my 10, then this is a 2, so that's 2 times 10 here. Okay, and the same thing there. Just to help you make it make sense. All right. So let's head to the next one. What is 30% of 120? Pay attention to this side. It says is over of equals percent over 100. So anytime you see what in front of is, we're going to put a variable for is, x over, and it says 30%, and then it says of 120. So is over of, so of 120, and make that be equal to the percentage that they're talking about, which is 30 out of 100. And now the next thing we need to do is cross multiply. So we're going to cross multiply to simplify solve for x. So we know that x times 100 is 100x. Let me come down here. Oh, well, I better not do that because I don't want to mess up with number 13. Let me come back here. So that's 100x. We're going to make that be equal to 30 times 120, which 12 times 3 is 36. So that's 3600. And remember, we're going to solve for x by creating our ladder so we can see the steps. We have 100 times x, the opposite or the inverse of multiplying is to divide. So we're going to divide by 100 on both sides. And when you divide by 100, we're left with x, make it equal to, if I cross out this 0, cross out that 0, we have 36. So we know that 36 is 30% of 120. Good job.